Hey, it's Louis Max for Grind&Pivot. Hope you enjoyed part 1 with Kelsea Cooper. Here's part 2 with some great advice as well. Thanks always for listening. Peace.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Something big was lifted off. And, I think also when you think about it, X amount of years of the eating disorder, of starving the brain and starving the body, it took a major, major toll. If you were still eating and doing everything, then I can maybe understand taking something to take the edge off. You may be a little unbalanced here and there, but you had to go to rock bottom and start fresh, which you did, and fill and really fill up the shell.
Yep.
And fill shell like it is now, great. Yep. And then obviously the relationship took its toll, and that needed to be a change also.
It was a huge onion. I mean, I had all these layers that I had gotten to the center of that onion, and I didn't have any of those layers left around me. And as I went to build them back up, I had to learn what part of my life I could even have anymore.
Exactly. And it seems like you did an amazing job. I mean, do you still practice? The DBT is a way of life, I'm assuming. Do you still practice it knowingly? Do you have to work on it? Do you have to go to reference books? Do you have to still take a step back? Or it's just automatic and it's natural?
Automatic now. Just 7 years. Well, actually, I was still in DBT until 2007 when, after I got divorced, I ended up moving from Portland to Klamath Falls. And so I was still in DBT at that point, and I left when I moved to Klamath Falls. Mm-hmm. I left DBT because I didn't have that option anymore here. And so, it just becomes a way of life. And I'll catch myself just like, even this morning, just being mindful in the backyard, just sitting and taking a minute to just nothing in front of me, just me, my cup of coffee, and just kind of looking at my yard and the work I've done and enjoying it, and try not to see all the things. Oh, I want to do this. I'm mad at myself because I didn't do that yet, or just enjoying what is there and what I do have and being grateful. And then I realize, oh yeah, this is all from those years of DBT.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing.
It happens, and it's not DBT. It's just learning to be grateful. It could do so many people so much good.
Right, but that was the obviously the tool. Yeah,
exactly.
Of course, that was the tool. I find that very interesting. Using that tool every day, it's become a reflex. It's become second nature to you, which is another pivotal moment where after that, I think you should start calling yourself Dr. Kelsea. Because you could actually teach and tell people how it is.
Now, hard knocks doctor.
Yeah, exactly. School of hard knocks. Now, speaking of your name, Kelsea, I have to bring one thing up. I know that you actually changed your name.
I did.
You care about talking about that? I think it's a pretty cool story. Maybe you want to share it.
Sure. It actually kind of aligns up with all the changes that happened when I finally got things together, is that going through, and we didn't necessarily spend a lot of times like digging into our past, like digging it all up and looking at specifics, but just the basic ideas of why we have these thoughts that come into our head, even over what's really being in front of our face, because you see everything so black and white. It's either good or bad. And if it's bad, did you want to run? So I went all that after I got out of the actual inpatient. I was just kind of learning myself and exploring myself, and it's like, wow, I never really liked my name, and never really got an answer about why I was named. I was born April, and people would be like, you're not born in April. Why are you April? And I have no idea. It's not a family name. It's just, and it didn't fit me. I'd go to business meetings with my ex-husband, and people, they didn't remember my name. They'd call me Alice. So I guess I looked more like an Alice than an April. Wow. And so it's just like, I'm going to change my name. It's a new life for me. It's a new start. I'm this new person that I'm building now. So I get to choose my name now, and I have that. That is something I have the ability to do. And I don't want to say I have the right to do it, but it's the best way to say I do have a right to pick my own name. I am
think so.
building
Well,
this person.
okay.
And so my girlfriend and I literally went to the bookstore and bought a couple baby name books and just started just digging through. We'd sit there for like hours having coffee and just, yakking for the afternoon, pulling out names. And she'd like, what about this name? Oh, let's try it. So we would just kind of try the name for a day or two. Not the right name. And so finally, it took a couple weeks, and we finally got Kelsey. Kind of came up, and I think it was my girlfriend that found it, and so we just kind of started playing with it. And my ex-husband was okay with this, and so he'd play with it too. And so it's kind of like, I think we found it. And so then it's like, okay, well, if I'm going to go to the lawyer and I legally have it name change, not just change, you can change your name, but I legally changed my name.
Right.
I have to figure out how I want to spell it. I was always jealous of my friends who had, unique names or just kind of cool names. And April wasn't cool. It's a month. Be real. It's a month. And so
Okay,
it's nothing
absolutely.
special about it.
I hear you.
So I'm like, I'm going to spell it Kelsea. That's different.
Instead of
Kinda fits
SEY.
me.
Instead of SEY.
Yeah, it's a SEY.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And so I decided on that. And then, so I was kind of going through that and kind of telling my therapist and my psychiatrist. And it's like, I finally figured out, because they knew I was going to change my name. They were all on board with it. It's pretty cool. It's perfectly fitting. And
Yeah.
so I went and told my psychiatrist that I found my name. I'm going to go by Kelsey. And he's like, great. What are you going to use for a middle name? And I'm like, oh no, middle name. I didn't get that far.
So you went back to your girlfriend. We said we need something, right?
Nope. Actually not. He actually said, you know what? I got a suggestion for you.
Really?
He said, yes. He said, he was a big coffee freak. And he used to go to Starbucks every day. He says, there's just this really nice girl that really reminds you of you. And her name's Miranda. And
Wow.
so he's like, I've always liked that name. And he had 2 sons, so he didn't have a daughter. And so he's like, I've just really liked that name. And so I'm like, Kelsey Miranda. And
Sounds
then Miranda
great.
Wrights popped into my head, and it's kind of like fitting exactly what I'm doing. I'm creating my own, standing up for myself and making myself. So Kelsey Miranda became I legally changed my name to Kelsey Miranda.
Yeah, it works. It's interesting too. I played rock and roll for many years, even for the podcast, for everything. You rock and roll bands, you try to think of names, you start writing, like same thing. You get a book or you just start writing names, you're writing yes, no, maybe so, yes. You ask people, you live with it. You don't know if in like a week or two you're going to hate it. But when something works,
Yep.
it fits in, if it's like a glove. I mean, it's real and it really means something. Now, did you ever ask your mom or try to figure out, I'm not going to get into that whole situation, but did you ever ask your mom, where April emanated from? Because usually you would think it does come from something.
Well, I did ask her because I never liked my name. I never did. And she never really had a reason for it. And the only thing I did find out from my grandmother later on, I was probably in junior high or high school, and I knew my great grandmother at that point. I had met her a couple of times because I had traveled to Idaho to see her a couple of times with my grandmother.
Cool.
When my grandmother told my great grandmother, this is how the story goes. My great grandmother said, "I love the name April." And my grandmother said, "Why didn't you tell me I had 2 daughters? I would have named one of them April if you really, So that was that kind of kept me, at least gave me some attachment to my name through those years. But other than that, it was just a name. I don't know, pulled out a hat. I don't know.
Right. And it didn't really come from your mom. So she didn't, if that would have been the case, it would have been interesting. Wow. Okay. So I like it, Kelsey Miranda. It's great. I love it. Let's change courses a little bit. I want to talk about something that's really near and dear to your heart, and for people listening, they're gonna their eyes are gonna pop open. Congratulations are in order. I believe you are a champion dog therapist. Your dog is a champion. Give us the rundown. I know the whippets, right? You have a whippet and you have a big therapy.
Yes, I've had whippets, pretty much my whole life. And I have a whippet now. His name's Titan. And we just won the Willow Award for the American Whippet Club, which is the Whippet Therapy Dog of the Year. And so thank you.
Bravo. Shout out Titan.
That's right. He's my bud. He's a good
That's it.
boy. Yep. He's pretty popular around parts here. People know him.
Right. So tell us a little about what you're doing with that.
We do well, he's a certified therapy dog, and we do mostly elder care visits. That's just kind of where it's lined up for us really well. I think there's a pretty good need for it. Titan has a knack for it. He does really well with children too, but I don't know, he knows when we do a lot of memory care visits, so it can be hit or miss. Energy wise, when you go into the unit, you know when you walk in whether the mood's good or the mood's bad instantly.
Or
It's
when you
it's
say memory, dementia, that kind of
dementia,
thing. Okay.
Alzheimer's, yeah,
Also, okay.
and they're in lockdown situations,
Yeah, my
and
dad was in.
yeah, and it's tough. It's tough on families. It's tough on the residents think they've done something wrong. They understand that they can't leave. So Titan, he just has a knack for it. I let him lead me when we go in, and if he knows, he'll notice. He'll just get a sense of the energy, I guess. And if he starts kind of pulling me off away from the big group, and there's somebody sitting over there, 9 times out of 10, that person's upset or crying or I've been shocked. Yeah, he'll take me over, and it's like I'll recognize the person, and I'll just kind of come up, and I'll just softly touch them on the shoulder, and I'm like, "It's doggy day. Titan's here," and they look up, and you can tell they're upset. And Titan just kind of looks at them, and then they light up because there's Titan. We go every week, so we're there every Thursday. So we're a regular weekly visit for them, and suddenly they're like, "Oh, it's Titan," or I'll be like, "Well, Titan doesn't want you to be upset," and but he knows where we need to go, and he'll just sit there, a nonverbal Alzheimer patient, just petting him. If it was me
Wow.
and I was just petting him, not talking to him, he wouldn't stay. He'll just sit there for 5 minutes until I have to kind of get us going to go say hi to some other people. He'll just sit there and be with that person in the quiet.
So he's reading the people.
Yeah, definitely.
He's intuitive. That's
Yep.
that's amazing. I have a pit bull mix. I rescued her 7 years ago, and I know what it's like. I'm a big time dog lover, a big time animal lover. Yeah, there's nothing better than a dog for whether it be therapy, older, cancer patient, something. And
Yeah.
especially now that the dog obviously is gifted, can really seek out the person that actually needs it at a time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
and when we walk in, well, we do some other things, but when we walk into like especially the memory care units, we walk in and he's looking to see who needs him first. And I just let him start whichever direction he wants to go. I just let him go now because he'll know which way, or even if it's just, I don't know if it's a coin flip in his head sometimes because he doesn't see anybody, it usually is the direction we need to go for the
Interesting.
day.
Did you have to go through training, certification? How's it work
Yes.
out there? You did have to do all that?
Yeah. There's well, on the West Coast, there's a couple of 2 or 3 pretty big programs, and I'm through Pet Partners, and uh, I had to do training like HIPAA training and just the rules of the organization. So I had to do training of I don't know 12 courses online, and then Titan had to go do a test to make sure that he had the temperament and he didn't get upset at yelling or fire alarms going off, or he's actually got a broken toe because he got hit with a door that a person in a wheelchair ran over one of the automatic doors, and the
Hmm.
door swung open really fast and caught him on the toe. It actually broke his toe, so he's got a he's got a therapy dog injury. But yeah, it didn't even phase him. He still did the visit the whole rest of the day. I didn't even know till 2 or 3 days later. I think he broke his toe when that door hit him.
Yeah,
That's yeah. He just goes with the flow, and it doesn't bother him. But
that's
they
amazing.
have to have that temperament to be able to go into places like that.
Absolutely. So the dog got you through not only Titan, but how old's Titan now?
He is 9 years old.
Okay, my dog is 8 as well. So you've had dogs throughout, and those dogs have been there for you. I'm sure it was kind of tough at times for you to leave them here and there and come
Oh
back,
yeah,
correct?
yeah.
I'm sure
Oh
that was
yeah,
a
yep, yep, yeah. When I was in the hospital, I know twice for sure. The nurses would talk to whoever the doctor on call was, and got me a pass. And my ex-husband would bring my dogs to the hospital, and a nurse would go down with me so I could see my dogs down in the parking lot for 10 or 15 minutes, just because that calmed me down for me to be okay with staying a few more days in the hospital than I needed to do.
Absolutely.
And it really did. That's all I needed. I just
Gave
needed
you a
to know they were
little
okay.
strength. Gave you a little strength.
Yeah.
More strength.
I knew they
right.
were okay, and I wasn't worried about them, and I had their pictures on the wall, and yeah. And when I got divorced and moved to Klamath Falls, I had two of my whippets with me, and it was some pretty dark times moving to a town by yourself and being the outsider. And it was just the three of us, and I was fine. Had my dogs. I was all right.
Absolutely. Hey, I have to ask you about music in up in the Pacific Northwest. Did music play a part? Did you grow up listening to music? What I know, there was the big grunge thing in Seattle, but there was a lot of stuff out there. I mean, I know Wilco, Jeff Tweedy. There's a couple of different things from out that way. Pearl Jam, I guess. What music did you grow up listening to? And I think there's a story there. I know something that you play a crazy instrument.
Yeah, I was a tuba player.
Wow.
Yeah, I started out on clarinet in the 4th grade.
Right.
Should have been the 5th grade, but I had a really good principal. Actually, when I was in 5th grade, I was struggling because I had just moved from California to Washington. That's the point. I'd moved from California to Washington, and I was just struggling because of just differences between the school districts. And principal's like, let's just hold you back. He left it up to me. He said, but you'll do better. It'll be better for you. And actually, it's been great. I actually got to talk to this principal when I went back for my reunion, and
Really?
pivotal, life-changing moment for me. And he's like, I was in the 5th grade. It was a couple months in, and he's like, I really think we should just put you back in the 4th grade, and all the things that you have missed out on, you'll catch up on. You know, things that the kids don't know, you can help them. And just the way he put it out there, it's like, okay, because I was struggling. I was literally like sitting home for hours in the 5th grade trying to struggle through just basic homework at that point. And he said, it'll be so much easier for you if you just go back a grade. You'll be the top of the class instead of struggling in the middle of the class. So I told him I'll do it as long as I could stay in band, because I had just signed up for band, because you couldn't do band till 5th grade in Washington.
Okay, yeah. By us, it was 4th grade. I played the flute early on in 4th grade.
You got good wind. You got good lungs
I had
too.
it. I was decent. Yeah, I was decent. My dad was an arranger, so so I was always playing piano. But you're playing the tuba, so 5th grade, but you were in 4th grade. Okay,
I was in 5th grade, and he wanted to put me back to 4th grade, but you couldn't be in band in 4th grade. So I said, I'll do it, but I want to be able to stay in band.
So they let you.
He said, the principal said, I don't see why not. It's actually an age requirement, and you've actually met the age, but they just have to put it at a grade. So I was in band in the 4th grade, and nobody else was. So then when I got to 7th grade, I went to junior high. I was a good clarinet player. I was first chair, always challenging and stuff. But the instructor's like, I need a tuba player.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And so I'm like, I'm game for anything. And my dad is a musician too, and he used to practice when we lived in California, and he used to have a trombone player come, and I was always fascinated with the trombone. But I couldn't remember what the trombone was called when it was time to sign up. All the girls were signing up for flute or clarinet. I did not want to be a flute player. Sorry. I wasn't a girly girl.
Don't worry about it. I'm not.
Kudos for you for being a flute player.
Yeah, tell me about it.
My uncle's a flute player, so it's all right.
Tough instrument.
It is tough. And so I signed up for the clarinet, because I should have probably done trumpet or something. And so it's like, fine, I didn't do the trombone. I'll try the tuba. It only took 2 months, and I ditched the clarinet, and I stayed on tuba the rest of my life.
That's pretty interesting, because the clarinet, the woodwinds, the clarinet, the sax, the clarinet, and the flute are all pretty much the same fingering.
Exactly.
Obviously, you have the reeds for the other two. Now you're changing to the tuba, where the mouthpiece obviously was, maybe your dad gave you some sort of gift, because the mouthpiece is somewhat the same, but the wind is a whole different. I mean, that's tough. My dad played French horn, which is brutal. Tuba is a tough one.
There's a reason you can't take French horn in elementary school, because your lungs aren't developed enough to be able to blow through, or the tuba too. Yeah. Right. My dad was a guitar player, so he not so much as far as like a woodwind instrument at all, or a brass instrument, but yeah. So that's how I became a tuba player, and I loved it and stuck with it all through college.
What were you listening to?
back then my dad would buy me whatever. That's when they had like the Columbia record.
Yeah,
That you bought
the
like
club,
10
the club,
albums,
the
the
club. Of
club.
course, of
So my
course, of
dad, if
course.
he didn't have any albums he wanted, he would, I don't know, he would get me like the Eagles or, whatever, greatest hits or whatever.
Of
Because I
course.
literally listened to classical music and jazz music.
Right. So you're listening to a lot of Sousa, huh?
Yeah, somewhat. Yeah, a lot of jazz. That we
Right. What
there used to
jazz?
be.
Anybody jazz wise that you love
Nope, I just
off
like
the top of your
listening to
head?
jazz.
Yeah.
Yep, just like listening to it, just taking it in. And I had a couple good music instructors, and they're like, don't get stuck on a particular genre, but just listen to music and try to pick apart all the difference. Try to listen to the guitar player and just try to hear all the little intricacies. Don't listen to it as like the final product is cool, but for you to develop as a musician, try to listen to all the little different parts.
Yeah,
So I just
absolutely.
love listening to music and trying to pick out the little parts
That's
and
fantastic. So you
try
got
to get
into
stuck.
school, you got into college on a music with a for a music degree.
I actually went to Oregon State on an Air Force ROTC scholarship for civil engineering, and it only lasted about one term. And I ditched civil engineering and ditched the scholarship and moved over to the music education.
That's amazing. So you
And
had to
picked
do
up
you have
some
to take theory?
scholarships.
You had to all
Yeah,
your
music
theory,
theory. And
sight singing,
I
sight
had to learn
singing.
piano. Yes, I had to learn piano, and yeah, as a
Oh boy.
I was like 19 years old trying to learn piano, and so I was always jealous of all those kids that at least had piano when their mom and dad made them take it for a year younger. They picked right back up.
Oh yeah, but the tough thing about it is, what separates everybody is the ears separate everybody. I mean, the sight singing was absolutely brutal. I had a Hungarian teacher, first year college, 8 o'clock in the morning, and she would come. You couldn't really understand her. She had a heavy accent, and she'd just fly out with some sort of Bach or Beethoven phrase, and she'd say, "Okay, come up and write it." I'm like, I'm in the back freaking, and everybody else was freaking too, but there was
Yeah.
always two or three people that had the pitch, had the ears.
Yeah.
Let me do it. And they come up and they just write it out. I'm like, oh, give me a break.
I know. Yep. Some
Brutal.
of the yeah.
Brutal.
Yeah.
So,
I can pick things out and I can mimic things pretty good, but yeah, to do
yeah, that's a big difference. So, what other music? Any rock and roll? Any?
I'm an alternative girl.
Okay.
And
Got ya.
yeah, and then that mostly came about. I went back to art school in 2004 as part of me discovering myself. One of my therapists said, "Why don't you go back to school? And you don't have to go back and even to get a degree. Just go back and do something you really like this time. You have the ability to do it, the time and the financial ability." So I went back to art school, and I was, wow, I was in my mid 30s by then, and I'm back in school with a bunch of 20-year-olds. So in Portland, alternative rock was the thing then, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I'm so it really stuck with me, and I don't know if it was because it was just that was my new teenage years, or if it's really where I would have landed anyway. I don't know. Tough one
Wow.
to decide on that one.
Interesting. Very interesting. By the way, Starbucks or Pete's?
Pete's.
Oh, okay, just want to know. I'm a big coffee guy. Are you? Just being out there.
I didn't drink. I didn't drink. I didn't start drinking coffee till I was 41 years old.
Wow. And now you can't get rid of it, right?
No,
I know. Can you function without it?
if I really have to.
I know. Well, yeah, of course. Come on.
We do a lot of dry camping, so sometimes we're lucky if we get one cup of coffee. So you gotta learn.
Okay, no big deal. No big deal. So, '07 was a pivotal moment. Everything kind of really changed for you, and you brought into a new relationship as well in '07 or '08. When did you get into your new relationship?
'07 is when I got divorced, and we actually got divorced in 3 weeks. We did a non-contested divorce, and it was over like that. I got an opportunity for a position to move to Klamath Falls in retail. I needed a job because now I'm completely on my own, and so I took it, and I thought it would be good to live away from Portland and go to a new place and start by myself. And so I moved to Klamath Falls in October of '07, and I met my now husband in June of '08, and we got married in '09.
Beautiful. So it's been quite a ride,
Yeah.
up until this point. How is it now? Is there any advice you can give to people about where you're at now after you've traveled as I said, champion of life, many battles fought, many battles won, many lost. But you seem to be really on a tremendous positive path. Sans meds, no meds, which is really, I think, commendable. Do you read? Are you still doing self-help? Take us, where are we at now?
Now, I should read more. I'm not a good reader. I never have been. I can't sit still long enough to read, but once I do sit down, and if I do put the time in and make an effort, I can do it, and I need to do it more. Obviously, I've done it when I had to. I did lots of reading when I was first starting through my eating disorder program. Biggest thing is probably just turning off the TV or some of the other distractions, just making it more of an effort to do that. I just wake up in the morning and kind of do a gut check where I am emotionally. How am I feeling? If I don't know how I'm feeling, take a second look, because everybody has some sort of feeling they wake up with, because I'm lying to myself.
Starts right away.
Exactly. And then I kind of look at like, what do I have for the day? I try not to schedule my day too heavy. It doesn't work very well for me. I like to have quite a bit of flexibility, and I'm able to do that financially, and go from there and try to just be mindful in the morning. And then what do I want? If I don't have anything on my schedule, like I've made a commitment to somebody else or Titan, and I don't have a visit for the day, what do I want to do for the day? I start from there. Is there something I want to do? Creative? I try to do something creative every week. Or, man, I really need to get out and do the yard, or try not to let that burden me too much, but you do still have to have a productive life.
Yes.
So I try to balance that, because I mean, I grasp onto the self-help part of stuff really well. It's pretty easy once but I don't want to have it as an excuse. I'm just doing self-help and not doing my stuff that I need to do around the house to keep a clean house.
Yeah, well, you're gonna do that. You're gonna do that anyway. That's gonna happen. But you ever think of helping anybody, other people? Do you speak to anybody? Do you? I mean, you have a great. You have a great. What's the word? I'm lost for a second because I have a lot going on in my head. I might have to edit that part out. But do you? You ever think of helping anybody, because you have a great way of thinking and talking, and a calm, cool delivery.
Thank you. I'm not ashamed of my story, but I just don't think a lot of people would understand it if you just put it completely out there. And I've taught DBT to, it was a program for a substance abuse program to the two of the therapists. I took them through the basics of the modules of eating disorder program, not through the modules of DBT, like all the 7 different modules, and kind of talked them through it so they could take the basics of it to help some of the people that they worked with. And that was fun. And actually I've run into a couple of those people, and they even got a lot from it from themselves, because anybody can learn something from DBT.
Absolutely.
And that it was great skill for them to pass on to their clients when they saw that there was a need that some of their clients could use. And I've talked to several people that I feel are safe, but no, I haven't really gone down like looking at doing it like on a more structured basis, I guess.
Right.
I'm not really closed off to it, but it's just not a big part of my life. And part of me is even thinking about it right now. It's like, was that kind of me avoiding it? And I'm like, no, I'm not really avoiding it. It's just not a big calling for me.
Yeah, it's not. I don't think it's just not. It's not hitting you. That's all.
I live by example. I don't have to teach. I can live by example.
Exactly. Well, I think just along the lines of telling your story here, people will hear it, and I think they'll take heed at where you've been, where you started, where you've actually made it to, which I think is really, again, as I said, an interesting and commendable story. I mean, all the things you're doing. You speak about your art. What's your forte? What is your art background? What are you into?
I do a lot of graphics. I'm more of a graphic artist. And I'll do anything and everything. I've this headboard that you can see. People can't hear, but I did that.
It's cool.
Totally designed the headboard, stained it, wood etched it, and we moved into a house 7 years ago that hadn't been taken care of. And I've painted floors, I've painted staircases. if there's something I think I can do, I'll figure out how to do it. Nothing necessarily specific or particular. I'm not like a watercolorist or an oil painter or anything like that. And just
Right, right. Do you ever watch any
more.
of the shows on TV? You know, any of those home shows or some of those crazy like
We
barn
have been a
shows?
lot now that the COVID's hit because we're big sports people and we got to have something to watch at night.
Oh yeah, that's right. There's no sports. By the way, I forgot about that. Yeah, I have to shout out Oregon Institute of Technology. Go
That's right.
Owls!
That's
The big
right.
Owls. I know they're down. Danny Miles, Russ gave me. Used to do a lot of work for them. That was a big thing. You're probably a Beavers fan, most likely, right?
Yes, I'm a Beavers fan.
I'm a
Beavers.
Ducks fan. I'm a
I
Ducks
know. It's all right. That's all
fan.
right.
Portland State, by the way, pretty cool too.
Yeah, and yeah, I went to Oregon State 2 years, Portland State for 2 years, and then back when I was at Portland State, they had pretty good powerhouse football program during that period.
Right,
Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, the Pacific Northwest is still happening. I coached basketball here, and a kid that I coached played for the Trailblazers recently. He's on the Knicks
nice.
now. But yeah, so sports, yeah, we've zero sports. It's just starting to come back a little bit now, but it's been
Yeah,
tough, right?
it has been tough, but it's also been for us. It's been kind of nice because it's so easy just to turn on a ball game or whatever's on, and obviously there's tons of choices with the way cable's set up now, and it's kind of been nice not having the TV on. We'll catch a quick little bit of the evening news just to like quickly know what's going on around maybe what we need to pay attention to or not pay attention to
Or not
usually.
pay attention.
So, but
Exactly.
we could turn it off and then we'll like. And now that summer's here, we'll go out in the backyard, just enjoy the dogs or whatever. But before, we probably would have just sat there and wasted away. It's not wasting away, but not accomplished much. And now we're like our yard's like looking really nice, and
Yeah.
so we're not sucked into watching a ball game. And so we're most likely for us out of the COVID, we'll make a more of a concerted effort about deciding and saying, okay, this is a game we really want to watch, and just planning it more as a date night or that catchphrase, and just sit down and make it an intent to sit down and watch a particular game, not just
Absolutely.
whatever's on. We'll just find something, or it's a close game. Let's find a close game.
Right, right. I hate to say it. It sounds like the social distancing is working pretty good. I mean, I've been a social distancer for 30 years, and I don't want to say I feel terrible for everybody out there. Loss of job, loss of money, but the social distancing is a beautiful thing. Except that. Now everybody could just find you. They know you. They know you're home. They know where you are.
Exactly. I know you're not doing anything. Why aren't you answering my call?
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Well, I got to say, it was a pleasure speaking to you. And it is recording.
I do have one thing I didn't get to say though that you asked me
Please,
about. You
please.
asked what advice I would give to other people if they found themselves in the same type of situation.
Fantastic. Go.
And this is probably, and actually it's probably one thing that I would love for anybody to understand is you have to know your own truth and your own value within yourself, and you have to honor it, and you have to find a way to embrace it, because if you can't do it in yourself, there's no way you're going to be able to explain or expect other people to treat you that way. So if you can't first hold that in yourself, you're going to struggle with everything, people, situations, and know that you do have worth. Everybody has worth. Everybody has what they have a perceived value within themselves, and you have to honor that within yourself first. And without that, you don't have a spiritual life, you don't have an emotional life, you don't have a physical life, and all. So just to know that you have worth and hold that in yourself first. Screw the haters.
Well said. Well said. And on that note, you've said it all. Again, I do want to thank you so much for being on and being, really candid and open. And most important, I want to say thank you, congratulations, and Titan. Titan is the man. Titan is the man.
Yeah, Titan's the man.
And people check it out. Titan, absolutely. And once again, I stay well. I hope that we do stay in touch and we speak again soon.
Definitely. And you take care and stay safe and make wise choices.
Absolutely. Peace.
Peace.
Thanks so much for listening. Big shout outs to the crew behind the scenes, John Hart, Ian Lidovich, Russ McMahon, and of course my wife Jill. Don't forget to smash that like button, comment and subscribe, and follow at Grind and Pivot. You already know we appreciate you. Later, son.